Today we're going to be talking about why narcissists often control us, even when it comes to the ending the relationship, why ending the relationship often isn't straightforward, why it's so difficult, and why it really becomes super dangerous. So I'm very excited to have you join me today. We're going to be talking about narcissistic injuries, for example. That's one of the problems, is that narcissists have an extreme sensitivity to anything that feels like rejection. And as a result of that, they experience us leaving as us then saying there's something wrong with them, is a slight to their injury. Now, no one likes to be rejected. No one wants to be left. But when you're left, but when you feel out of control, when you're hypersensitive to control, and you experience the person who's doing the leaving as the one who's then asserting a statement about yourself. And here's the other problem: narcissistic people and other kind of highly conflictual antagonistic personality styles don't view other people as individuals. They view people as extensions of themselves. And so for you to leave is an exertion of your will. So they actually feel like they've lost control. And that is then, it kind of ratchets up their anxiety and their tension, and makes them feel very out of control, which is a dangerous time when we're in a relationship with a toxic individual. We don't never want to be. That's when they feel like there's more at risk, more to lose, and then things tend to go really, really wrong. So I'm so thrilled that you're here today joining me. I'm Dr. Kerry McAvoy. We're going to be talking about endings, relationship endings with highly conflictual people, what you can do, how you can handle it differently. Maybe even if you're looking to understand about why these relationships seem to go so poorly, why you can't exit straightforwardly like you would with somebody else. So I'm super excited that you're here. I hope that I have some mods in the room that we can also manage the conversation and keep it civil and on topic, but I'm super excited to have you here. I'm a retired psychologist with more than 20 years of counseling. And so this is something that I feel really passionate about, because I know this is an area, this is a touchy time in relationships where we're scared. We know that we're ready to get out. Maybe we have a lot more we need to get ready in order to get out, um, but we know that the relationship is doomed, that there's been enough toxicity and enough broken promises, enough betrayals that we feel ready to exit, and that now the challenge becomes how to do it. And for some of us, financial issues are a huge issue, because you may have been limited in your access to the income and to the money coming in. Maybe you've even had yourself restricted in the kind of gainful employment that you could have. So there's a lot of parts and pieces that come to endings. But one of the parts that's super hard is that when people who are toxic, like narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, when they feel that they're losing control and they can sense that you're getting ready to walk out, they do a couple different maneuvers that are very intimidating, can tug at our heartstrings, make us feel super bad. Maybe it might create hope in you. You might think, oh goodness, it's going to get better. Finally, they're hearing me. Or you might start to feel super intimidated. I don't know if you happened to catch the latest podcast where I interviewed Jessica Kent, but she shared how it really got dangerous, that the relationship took a turn into violence, which I think in some ways kind of surprised her. But maybe for you, I know a lot of you come to me and share that your partner suddenly is promising you the sun and the moon, everything that you've ever wanted. They're going to be more involved. They want to, whatever you have been talking about. Maybe it's date night. Maybe it's being a better parent involved with the family at home. Maybe it's that they're going to go couples therapy with you finally. But there's something that you may have put out there that you really wanted as what you're looking for in this relationship, and now they offer it because they sense that you're getting ready to leave. So it's super interesting how this works. So I'm thrilled that you're here, and feel free to put your questions into the comments. Maybe put a thumbs up so that I know that you're talking to me and not talking to each other. But let's talk about whether or not you have been oh, thank you so much, Leslie. Whether you guys have been trying to exit, and how is it going? What's going well, what's not going well, maybe some of the questions you might have. but I really would love to talk about why endings are so hard. Elle said that she's got stalked for 5 years. Wow, how did you know? And was it that this person staked out you at work? Or did you feel that this person was outside your home parked in a car? Maybe you noticed that they were like breaking in, hacking into your emails and whatnot. I was listening to a forensic psychologist who often gets interviewed for court cases, and she said that based on her clinical as well as her forensic work, so both arenas, she found that 65% of the clients had had some form of hacking, whether it was hacking into your phone, hacking into your text messages, but there was some level of intrusion, direct intrusion. When we were getting ready for this last retreat in February, Rising Strong, which is going to be held again in February 2025. So if you're looking to be pampered and looking to really have a healing experience, you might want to consider that. But one of the women that had wanted to go said she wasn't getting the emails. I kept wondering, why was she not responding to any of the emails that I was sending about the upcoming meetings and upcoming events and the final deadlines. Well, and I found out that her partner had hacked the phone and he was deleting all the messages, so that she was literally out of the loop. She didn't know that she was not getting the messages she should be getting. So that's a common experience where a partner who feels they're losing control then will increase the surveillance of you and begin to even like do things like stalking. So Brianna said that her mother started showing up unannounced, even with gifts, even though she'd been asked not to, and that she said that she did that because Brianna wouldn't take her phone calls. So therefore, it was Brianna's fault. Their mother needed to take the stalking up, the intensity up another notch. Isn't that fascinating? And Brianna, you're bringing up a really interesting point, because some of them get hostile and aggressive, and others of them become nice. You end up being what we call breadcrumbed, which is a way of saying that they then give you all this like enticement. You start to hear everything that you want, like, I'll help out more and I'll be around and I'll go to counseling, and they'll do you favors and all these things that you kind of, maybe you suddenly are getting flowers and or phone calls or text messages. But here's the thing, and I know for us survivors, it really throws us off, because these are the things you've been asking for in this relationship, that you've been hungry for. You've been looking for, because we know these relationships are, oh, thank you so much, Sage. We know from these relationships that we're looking for an involved partner. I always refer to it as the hokey pokey. We're looking to have someone who doesn't just put an arm in or a leg in. We're looking for someone that puts their whole self in. And what we discover is this person's never been invested. It's just, you're just an object. You're just a supply for admiration, maybe it's stability, maybe it's resources, but maybe it's sex, but they're just looking for something from you. They're not really looking to invest to get to know you. And then when they sense that you're becoming disenfranchised or you're getting ready to leave, they start to offer all of these things as a way to get that. And then you end up thinking, oh, they really care about me. See, that's the other thing, is what I have noticed, and I think this is one of the most horrible parts of this. I think there's lots of horrible parts. I keep saying that, like, this is one of the most, but there's lots of horrible pieces to this abuse. But I really dislike how manipulative and exploitive they are, extremely manipulative and exploitive, and that they know what it is that you want. They just don't intend to show up that way, but they'll offer it as a way to exploit you. And the problem is that they're playing our heart. They play our heart the entire time. They played it when they met us with the love bombing. We thought we met somebody fantastic because they were listening really well and showing up as a way that you want. And now they're playing your heart again when you're getting ready to leave because you're so hopeless and discouraged. Now they show up with the things that you've been asking for in order for them not. The point is, you think, oh, we're going to have a relationship. No, it's so they don't lose control of you. So they don't lose control of you. It's not because they want you. It's not because they love you. It's because they don't want to lose control of you. They want to do it to you on their timing and in their way. Now, sometimes we'll get people who will want to do a reverse discard, and we certainly can talk about that. But that's not what we're referring to here right now. We're talking about those who you've begged and you've pleaded and you really wanted to be in this relationship, and they've refused to show up that way. And now that they sense, and they have this intuitive sense, have you noticed? I mean, it's almost like spidey senses. They can pick up when we're really ready. We're kind of getting ready to exit. And instead, we now hear all these things that we've really wanted. Yeah, Miriam says, my husband wanted something from me. He used this really beautiful voice. Otherwise, it was yelling. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I've seen that. Um, oh my goodness, you're kidding me, Hazel. So Hazel shared that money had gone missing, and a massive amount of money had gone missing. And suddenly they discovered it in his elderly parents' name on a policy. Yeah, isn't that amazing how they do that? It's just super bizarre. So RW said that it was breadcrumbs so that they could be set up, so that people would see that's another, thank you for bringing that up, RW. I really appreciate that. What you're saying, RW, is that sometimes this breadcrumbing isn't simply just to prevent them from losing control. Sometimes the breadcrumbing and this giving you everything that you want is so they can set up a new narrative. They know the end's coming. They know that you're getting ready to leave, but they don't want you to, they don't want to be because of their fault. They want to be able to say look what they did. Look at all the efforts they made and they tried. And then have it still not work out, they can say, well, you were the one that sabotaged it. It is your refusal to go to therapy and your refusal to see all the efforts they get made. So isn't it amazing how, again, it's the manipulation of the public perspective, but it's still manipulation. It's still a form of manipulation. I agree with you, Strong Little Kristen, is that they don't see you as a real person with full rights and autonomy separate from them. They just see you as an extension of yourself. And so it's sort of like Toy Story. Woody may have been put away in the toy box, but that didn't mean that his owner wanted anyone else to play with Woody. It was still, it belonged to the owner. It wouldn't have been, I'm trying to remember the boy's name. It would have been not okay if somebody had walked into that boy's little house, gotten into that toy chest and took out Woody and said, okay, since you're not playing it and you don't want Woody anymore, I want Woody. Can I take him home? Oh, no. It's still his toy. Remember, they put the name on the bottom of that Woody shoe. Who he belonged to, Andy, thank you. He was Andy's toy. You're still so-and-so's toy. I don't mean it to be, I know that's got many different meanings, but you're essentially so-and-so's possession. They don't want you to belong to anyone else. That's another reason why they stalk, by the way. They're stalking you to find out what you're up to. Couple reasons why, I think. One is, I don't think they want you happy. I think they love to see that since they're not in your life, that you're less than, so they can say, see, I made you better. You were better because you knew me. You were in this relationship. I also think they stalk you because they also want to know what you're up to and whether or not you're seeing anyone. So it's just their nosy preoccupation with your private business, and that they hope to. That's what mine did. Mine stalked my website for a long time, and he would visit it like multiple times a day. Thanks to Google Analytics, it's really easy to see who's there, and he would reread certain articles. And the articles he preferred were the articles that I've written about himself. But how I knew it, because he validated it, was he ended up, before he was totally blocked, before I really was legally able to do that, he wrote me a long letter really attacking me and mentioned things that he would only know if he had been on my website reading my blogs. So he directly mentioned his opinion of stuff that I had written about, and I would have never, don't talk to him. So how would he have known? Wouldn't have shared anything with him. So it's really, it was very bizarre, but obviously he was keeping up with what I was doing and what was happening in my life. Yeah, Brianna, they do. They love to take on that kind of savior mode. That's how I'd say, kind of the Messiah. Like, I've come in and I tried to save us. I've tried to save our relationship and you wouldn't have it. So therefore it's your fault. And it's interesting, Brianna, you're talking about a family relationship. It happens with families. It can happen at work. It can happen in the neighborhood. And it certainly can happen with our romantic partners. But it's the same MO. They do the same thing. Oh, so RW said that she was convinced that she'd been recorded. So they recorded. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, it is amazing. So Elizabeth, I gave you some ideas about business, huh? Oh, I gave you the idea for your business. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, exactly. Or how about the boss who really, or the coworker who loves to take credit for your stuff? Then they come back and after they stole your idea, they come back and then want to know why you have an attitude that you do and that you're not now being the team player. I mean, it's amazing how they can take these scripts and then change it and switch it, making you look really, really bad. There was a TV show about two women in an office, and the new woman come in. I can't remember the name of it. It was two black women, and they were working in an office together. And the one came in and started taking the ideas of the other, and then passing it off on their own, and then setting it up so that when the first complained, that she looked like she was a like a sore loser or something. They're very good at doing that. Yeah, Mr. Finn, you said you were told, I thought you were raised better than that. And then when you defended yourself, it went badly. And that's what it often does. This is the hard part of these relationships is that when we do defend ourselves, and there is the natural in kind of the natural it's a creates an effort, a feeling of being maligned, and we don't want to be attacked like that. It does really raise the desire in us to make a correction and state what is true. But what they're really good at is that they will just run circles around you. Yes, it is, Miriam. It's the one about publishing. Yes. Yeah, can you remember the name of that show? That was a really good example of, I don't know if the second woman who came in, the new girl came in that was narcissistic, but she was extremely toxic and very exploitive and was just destroying the first person's life and relationships at the office. Is it called? Yeah, exactly. Is that the name of the series, The Other Black Girl? It's some name like that, but it was really good. Do I think that psychology buzzwords are being overused? A canon art, that's a common question. Can you? Oh, so that's the name of it, The Other Black Girl. Oh, okay, interesting. I don't remember. I just know it was really well done and it was uncomfortable to watch, very uncomfortable. So, A canon art, tell me which buzzwords you think are being overused and let's talk about it. Elizabeth, I agree with you. Elizabeth wrote, they want unlimited forgiveness regardless of the damage they did. Here's what I think. I would phrase it this way. They want unlimited irresponsibility. They want no responsibility, no accountability, and they want all the benefits and convenience, entitlement that they think life should give to them. I think that's really what they're looking for. They're looking for that. Which, yes, that means then that they want us to have unlimited tolerance. I wouldn't even say forgiveness. They want forgetfulness and tolerance is how I would. Oh, baby reindeer. Yeah, I started watching that. That's disturbing. Thank you. Anybody who knows, been around me, you know that I do watch a lot of TV. Right now, I've been watching Louder Milk. It's old. It's done. The series is done. But I've been having a lot of fun watching Louder Milk, and it's on Netflix. And Louder Milk, I would say, is a narcissist, but he's what I would say a vulnerable narcissist. He's a covert narcissist, and he doesn't have any significant relationships, so he's not really exploiting anyone because nobody gets that close to him, So, which is kind of appropriate. But he's a lot of fun. Yeah, Baby Reindeer is very. I agree. I stopped watching it because it was triggering. The stalking on it bothered me. So let's go back to AC Cannon's or A Cannon Art's question about are we overusing the words toxicity and narcissism? All right. Why do you think? I still want more information from you, A Cannon Art, because here's the thing. So please answer this question for me, and I'd be love to tackle this. This is how else do you talk about highly conflictual, highly damaging, antagonistic, problematic relationships? What words would you use to define that? And narcissism is a clinical term. By the way, I'm a retired psychologist. I'm trained to understand what narcissism is. I actually worked with narcissistic clients. I diagnose narcissism. So for me, it's a clinical term. I feel like that's within my realm and right. And by the way, it's actually a descriptive. It's a description. We all kind of know what narcissistic looks like. It's a descriptive word of entitlement and privilege, and people who tend to sort of think that they are excessively egocentric. So that's not a diagnosis, but are we overusing it? How so? What makes you think we're overusing it? I worry people use these words to label people and things inaccurately and with authority. So, all right, well, let's press back on that. Okay, so if a person is in a relationship with another person who is being controlling, refuses to find compromises, always has to be right, justifies what they do, is defensive, really isn't interested in working on things, is lying and then gaslighting about their lies and being deceptive and betraying, what word would you use? I would love to know how you would describe that. Because I think this is a thing, is when we start to police language, we're actually policing relationships and we're policing what happens in relationships. Well, maybe the problem is, he said, people seem to suddenly be surrounded by narcissists. How about that there are a lot of narcissistic behaviors, that we've become a culture that's very narcissistic in the sense of me, very, very self-referential, very egocentric, and very intolerant and inflexible with other people. So I think we're describing a situation that's difficult. My suspicion is that you're male, for one, and that my also suspicion is that probably you've been in a relationship where people have had issues with you, and that's probably made you feel really, really uncomfortable. Is my suspicion. People come in and tend to ask those questions, tend to have a personal reasons for asking those questions. Well, are they actually diagnosing each other, or are they calling out toxic behavior? That's what I'm hearing you say. To say that something's narcissistic is not a diagnosis. That's not saying you have narcissistic personality disorder. Oh, it's not nice that I just identified probably your history. Unfortunately, there's a style of, and that's, first of all, it's what I've been trained to do, is have insight into people and insight into what they're asking, behind what they're asking. Because here's what you're essentially saying. Let's back up with what you're really saying. You're saying we shouldn't use those words because maybe they're not nice or not kind or not easy to hear of. But what we're really saying, people who talk about this are saying, I want a different kind of relationship, and I have been begging and pleading for that relationship, and the person I'm in a relationship with won't participate. They don't want that. But they don't want me to leave, but they don't want that. And then they attack me when I try to show up as a real person. And then I feel shut down and feel controlled, and I'm not really in this relationship, and I'm being limited from things like money and privacy and solitude and even permission when to eat and sleep. And so I'm essentially being killed by this relationship, but they don't want me to hurt their feelings, but they're destroying me psychologically. That's, wow, what other words would we give that? That sounds pretty toxic. It sounds really toxic. I mean, actually, it sounds like they're living in an essential psychological equivalent of carbon monoxide. So no, I don't think it's overused. I think that we're in a crisis. That's what I think. limit the ability of people to talk about what's happening in life. People are going to use whatever language they want. Um, but if we say it's not okay to suddenly use words like narcissism, toxicity, narcissistic, entitled, then what? How do we talk about the fact that there's a serious relationship and we're not showing up with each other and we're showing up for each other? And yeah, I really struggle with what do we do? What do we do in that situation? Because I know that there's a lot of lack of comfort with people who feel like that it risks them of being identified that way, and they don't like that. They don't like feeling that way. But if here's another way to look at it. If everybody came to the table as if we're really mediating, really truly mediating in good faith, then there wouldn't be need for these words. There would be nothing toxic. See, I just heard Dr. Ramani, and I know I agree with her 100%. She said on a clip in an interview that the number one problem with some personalities is a lack of flexibility. They're just not flexible. They don't want to. They're not interested in making accommodations. They don't really want to take turns with another person. They don't want to do any of this kind of dynamic. They're inflexible. They want the way they want it when they want it. And it's the lack of even a flexibility around language that ends up being a problem. If we start to say, how would you feel if I came to you and say, okay, A, canon art, these are the words I no longer like you using because I'm not comfortable with it. Because it makes me feel uncomfortable, and I think you're really oversimplifying things, and it's way more complicated, and it feels like to me, but even the words that you're using is all about the other person. You're not talking about how you experience it. You're talking about how you feel like what's happening in the other person, like it's oversimplification and it's false confidence and all sorts of things like that, which that's really like, that's about you. It's not really about, you're not hearing the other person, the other side, why they may be using these words. So one of the things that happens as a psychologist, and I know it's really crappy, guys, I am on cellular service. So my internet, my Wi-Fi is down. I'm on cellular service. We have bad service everywhere right now. So one of the things that happens, though, is when somebody comes into an office, everybody quotes Ramani. Well, Phoenix Rising, it's because she's so prolific and she's done a lot of research. And I happen to be quoting her because I'm actually taking a certification training that she's offering for continuing education of psychologists and social workers. So I happen to be getting a lot of her right now. So I'm quoting her just because that's the material I'm in. It's in her material. So I'm sure you get sick of hearing her, but she's wise about a lot of things. I know she's not everybody's favorite cup of tea, but she's pretty brilliant on some of it. And she's not the only person that said that. The other person that Dr. Lester said that flexibility and rigidity are the two hallmarks of a personality disorder. They're overly rigid and they're overly inflexible. So she's not the first person to say it. She's probably quoting somebody else, honestly. But back to what I was saying is that we really get into a spot where the reason these things become problematic, why we complain about cultures, we're really complaining about our own circumstances. So when someone comes in and says the language need to be changed, what we're really saying is that the language that it's happening with you in your life, you don't like it and you wish it be changed. But what I would push back and say, it's not a language problem, it's a relationship problem. It's a relationship problem. I urge you to go deal with that relationship with the person who's using that language. Maybe they're inflexible. It could be you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't listen to you either. But are you listening to them? I really challenge you to ask, are you listening to them? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I'm on. Okay, it does say I'm live. All right. I'm checking my pages. I know that this is crappy because we're pulling off my phone for using I'm hotspotting my phone everywhere right now because I don't have internet. So it's going to be crappy for everybody. So sorry about that. Well, I'm glad you're here, witness of two. Yeah. So Phoenix Rising, what don't you like? What do you get sick about? What's no bueno? You said no bueno. Oh, yeah, great. I'm glad you see me. I'm back. I'm blurry. Yeah, I'm blurry because I'm hotspotting my cell phone. I don't have Wi-Fi right now. So yeah, it's bad everywhere. I don't know if my son will get it up and go on, what will happen or not, but I would love to know, Phoenix Rising, why you said no bueno about Dr. Romney. What's bothering you about Dr. Romney? I'm kind of curious about that. Oh, I'm glad, Kate, that's looking better. Yeah, I know. I agree with you, Miriam. People who have this experience, this kind of abuse, don't tend to argue about the terms. We're just thankful that finally we have words that make sense, that explains what we're going through. Absolutely. Yeah, I also find that the willingness to argue over the term, it to me is a sign of that's a person who's sort of, well, for one, it's policing language, which is sort of, for me to come in and say you shouldn't be using that word. That's first of all, really, who are you to tell me what words I can and cannot use? The word police, it's a little entitled and privileged. And then the other thing that kind of really bothers me is that it makes a statement that it's really limited. I think really the ability of victims to talk about their experiences. And I just got done listening to Blind to Betrayal, where with Jennifer Freed, that just spent 2 chapters. She spent the 2 last chapters talking about the importance of processing. That when we start to police people's ability to talk about the abuse, we're essentially limiting their access to healing. When we tell them to shut down or shut it off or go away or take it somewhere else, not only are we minimizing them and invalidating them, but we're really affecting their ability to process, because the biggest predictor, and this is from Dr. Vander Kolk, I heard him say it directly, was there and listening to him, said the biggest predictor of recovery is how healthy is your social support system. And if you don't have a social support system that allows you to have a safe place to process and work through and understand and explore your feelings, explore your reaction, you're going to become stuck in that experience and you're going to stall your healing out, which is why I so strongly believe in the importance of doing things like group coaching and being in a community experience, because it is when it's when we're in these we have this kind of support and have this kind of understanding that we know that we're not alone. We know that what we went through is wrong. We are able to finally process, go through our feelings and what it means to us. We're able to address how it's limited us and affected us so that we can make changes as we want. And we finally feel like we can be seen and that it's real. And I'll tell you, in the middle of that craziness, when all of it's going bad and you're not even for sure, you feel like you're the only person with the worst experience of your life. Like, you can't believe what often happens to us is so bizarre, so strange, that you think nobody's gone through this. I must be the biggest, I must be something wrong with me. Why am I in this relationship? And when you find out that you're not, it is such a relief. It's terrible to hear this other stuff happens to other people, but it's such a relief to know that you're not alone. I'll tell you, when I was going through that, and I was found out that my partner was a serial cheater, and that was all this horrible stuff going on in the background, all this deception, that constant gaslighting, the not even being able to trust what he was saying was what he was really doing, feeling like I was back to handling a 2-3-year-old as a husband. I felt like, first of all, the biggest idiot in the world that I was in the relationship with him. But second of all, I was so alone. And then every time I tried to reach out to somebody, they would just look at me. You know that look. They would just stare. And then I'd feel really, really bad for bringing it up, like an idiot. Or I would get some kind of like spiritual, philosophical thing like, well, do you think maybe you're a little too angry about that? Maybe you need to work on that? Or what's wrong with you that you haven't left when I wasn't ready to leave, nor did I have anything lined up to be able to leave? It just felt horrible, horrible. And so what you do, you just stop talking about it. And I think that's another reason why ACAN and Art, and I don't know if you're still here or not, that I really like somebody coming in and policing language, is because we already have been policed. We've been told that nobody wants it, that we've talked about it long enough, that we should be over it. It can't be that bad. Our partner probably can't be that bad. We've been told, what do we do to contribute to it? How are we forcing them out to betray us or to cheat on us or to gaslight? What are we doing to kind of make them pissy and angry? We've already gotten it. We've already got all that invalidation. And now to have somebody else saying, I think you're overusing the word toxic and narcissistic. Well, and then to me, it's like, you've not been there. Because it's not. That's exactly what I went through. It's exactly what all of you here are that why you're here and hanging out with me, you've been through it. And you know that. And it's horrible. I know we're not talking about how to leave a narcissist, so let's circle back to that. And I have been pretty active with you guys. Usually I kind of like turn it over. I feel like we've been doing a pretty balanced experiences of that. Um, so how to leave. If you're in a situation where you're really struggling and you want to leave, I have some hard truths and some helpful things to say. One is you have to decide you want to leave. You have to decide it. You have to decide you're worth getting out. And that's never, never, never simple. I mean, there's been 2 times in my life when I have been very terrified, like outright in sheer terror, like can't speak, can hardly move. One was when I was, and I just, if you guys have watched the video that's blowing up uncomfortably so, about my list of abuses, history of abuse. Obviously, when I was 4-year-old and being essayed, I was terrified. Absolutely. Sheer terror. Like facing most evil in my life. Sheer terror. But the second time that I felt sheer terror in my life was trying to get out of that relationship of 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Terror. I felt terror trying to leave that relationship. So to leave a toxic relationship, you're going to have to find courage. A lot of courage. And you're going to have to change the way that you view things and stop trying to like get along with this person. There's no getting along. Now, I believe in no longer instigating conflict with them. If you want to leave, I think it's better to get to not stir stuff up. Not stir stuff up. It just is simpler. But you need to get strategic in how you're going to find an exit. That's very uncomfortable for me. I'm a person who not only colors within the lines, I color way inside of the lines. I don't like to be anywhere near feeling like I'm on the edge of something that's maybe not really, to me, ethical or really reflects integrity or my moral code. I don't like it. I just don't like it. But you're going to have to start to really get sophisticated in how you're going to protect yourself, because this person is not going to make it easy. They're going to make it really hard for you to leave. Really hard. Like if they get a sneaking suspicion, they're going to start to hide things on you. They're going to start to like deceive. I had a friend of mine who found out that her husband had a second account and he was funneling his paycheck out on a regular basis. He was creating a secondary fund for himself in far advance of his planning to tell that it was over and that he had another person he was falling in love with. You have to know they're knocking on your best interest, and you have to get, unfortunately, as protective of yourself as they do. And it's super uncomfortable. And I see we lost a connection before, despite me saying, quit trying to be on the internet. So it is, you have to be, yeah, I'm freezing because yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you have to get super, super strategic. Super strategic. Some of you, that means that you're going to have to start to find a way to put money aside. I don't know how that you'll do that. You have to may get very creative in doing that. You may have to. I heard of one person that every time they went shopping and there was any change back, they would put it on a. They had like a Visa card, and they would just keep putting money on the Visa card, and raising the amount on it, so that the partner never knew that. But you're going to have to get strategic. I would highly encourage you to get another bank account of your own and start funneling money into it. And how do you do that? I don't know. And I know some of you say, well, I don't think I can be gainfully employed. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. If you really want it, you can. Um, you know, there's all sorts of things that you can do now online that you could never do before. But if you have to want it, you're going to have to want it. And that's the super uncomfortable part that I hate to tell you. You have to want it really, really bad. And like I said, I felt terror, felt very, very much terror when I was leaving mine. But you have to start to get strategic. So it may take time. That's the other part that really helped. You have to maybe have a very realistic expectation about this is going to take some time to set up. So there's some hard parts. Here's some good parts. You're not alone. If you feel alone, please contact me. I'd be happy to have you join my community. And if you have severe financial limitations, don't let that stop you from contacting me, please. I all the time make make some kind of allowances or some strategy to help you to afford to be in that group. So please reach out to me. Chickie May, if there's no reason to be alone, you can reach out to me and I'd be happy to have you be in the community. It's normally $15 a month. I'm happy to work with you so that you can afford, even if it's $1 a month. I do believe in you paying something because it has to feel like it costs you something for you to feel there's value. But what it has to cost you, it doesn't have to be $15 a month. I'm willing to negotiate. Seriously, there is no reason you guys cannot be in community support because I'm telling you, I'm going to lower the bar to where you can meet me. I want you in community. I believe in it so, so strongly. The second part is you have to also really think ahead. Like, know where all the documents are. Get copies of them. Start to hide them away on something. You need to find a way to do that, to really get all your, and I have a free exit checklist, a strategy checklist that it's free for anyone. You just need to reach out. I mean, it's actually a link in my bio. You can download it and it gives you like literally things that you can check off to make sure that you're doing. I also have a free Facebook support group. That group's not very active, but the community group is super active. The other thing that I would really encourage you to do is make a plan with a friend. Make a plan with a friend. Have a friend that you know is one of your ride or dies. Have a safe word and what you want them to do if you use this safe word. Like for example, maybe that you feel suddenly that your life is at risk. Have that safe word and have a plan in place knowing where you're going to meet, where you're going to go, what kind of domestic violence shelter you can hide in, all sorts of stuff like that. You need a safe plan to activate should you get into a terrible bind where you're scared and you feel cornered, backed into something. The group it's not on TikTok. It's a private group on Discord called Toxic Free Relationship Community Group. You can find out about it in the link in my bio right here on my profile. But make sure that you have a plan. That you have a plan what you're going to do if something goes wrong, because you are at most danger when you try to leave. So make a plan, figure out your budget, start setting money aside, get a separate bank account, have a ride or die friend set up with a safe word should something go wrong. And here's the next thing I want you to do. I want you to get a free legal consultation with somebody so that you know your rights. One of the biggest errors I've seen is people make jumps. They get out of these relationships and they don't know what their legal rights are, and they make jumps that they didn't anticipate the outcome, and then it costs them something super dear that they didn't know about. Maybe it has to do with your house. Maybe it has to do with custody. Figure out what the rights are in your area, and don't think your partner knows what they are. They're going to spout off some crap that will benefit them, and they'll use it as a way to scare you and intimidate you, but it doesn't mean that they're accurate. It doesn't mean there's anything remotely accurate about what they say. Find out for yourself. Find out for yourself. Yeah, Chickie May says she lost her house, her dog, and her businesses. Exactly. And they have no compunctions, no hesitations to strip you of everything. So find out your legal rights before you make a move. Know what you can and cannot do. Like, for example, if you have someone living in the house and you're not technically married and they're not on the deed, it may be considered a rental situation and you can't just kick them out. Find out. I don't know, but find out so that you don't get caught in a bad spot, because I'll tell you, they're going to use it against you. And then here's my last big piece of advice for everyone. Do not tell them what you're planning. Do not use that as a threat. Do not hold it over them as leverage to force them in to be able to get some kind of treatment that you want them to do it. Do not ever whisper any of this, because they're going to get a jump on you, and they're certainly not going to tell you what they're doing, and they're going to be geared up and ready. So do not share any of this with them, because they will use it against you. Oh, I love that emoji. I didn't know there was an emoji with a zipper across their mouth. That's awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. I can always count on you for that. So, yeah, please, 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 please keep this to yourself. I had this, this was very hard for me. I had this mentality that the relationship was a collaborative, collegial kind of like nurturing thing that we shared with each other. And I really wanted, I mean, I felt like here's the person I was terrified of, but I also was the closest to. And I wanted to share what I was going through because I was so close to him. But I also, it was him that I was trying to leave. It was this, I know it's a weird position. I know you're in a super weird position. That's again why it's so important to have community so that you can talk to people, so you can get out of it. I'm so glad, South African, that you're out of one. I'm really glad of that. Yeah. So those are some tips about how to leave. I have Facebook and YouTube. When I get done, I will go over to the show notes and drop in that link to that free checklist so you can get it. I'd be happy to have you download it for yourself if you want the direct things to consider when you're trying to exit out of a toxic relationship. Yeah. So Chicky, you're asking a really big question. How do I move on with a divorce if I can't afford to sue him? That's why I'm saying this stuff takes strategy, planning, and sometimes years to get ready. It does. I mean, the first piece is you got to get your own bank account and you got to start making some money some way. You have to really like think about it. Find out what you can and cannot do from home, or with your limitations, or with kids, or whatever you're facing in your particular situation. But you're gonna have to get creative. It's really hard. I know, super hard. And I agree with Kate. Her point is find out what the nonprofits in your area can offer and can help out. Sometimes they do have low cost housing, for example. Maybe there's a domestic violence shelter that could act as a way station for you. But to find out what you can do, but you have to do this for yourself. I know we keep hoping there's some kind of solution, there's some kind of benefit that will act like and go between. If there isn't, there may be aids, there may be ways in which you get support, but it really boils down to you doing this for yourself. You have to find a way to get out of this. I had to get quite strategic to get out of my relationship. Is there a difference between a sociopath and psychopaths, and can they have qualities of both? Actually, really what you're saying is that is that sociopaths and psychopaths both make up the same diagnosis, same DSM-5 diagnosis, and that is an antisocial personality disorder. That's what you're describing. They do look a little differently, and they do tend to have, some thoughts are that the etiology of them is different. So sociopaths tend to be more genetic. It's a low empathy, low conscience, poor social skills with other, often they're kind of mechanical. They don't demonstrate a lot of emotions. Definitely they think they tend to be superior than other people. They feel like they don't fit with the world, and some of them can be kind of robotic and cold and seem odd. They'll seem strange to you. They can hide. If they're hiding, they're mimicking and mirroring you and mirroring the people around them. But they don't read faces very well, and they don't really know how to anticipate. They're very cold and calculating. They can be very ruthless. Sociopaths tend to be better socially. They tend to adapt and fit in easier. But the problem is they're very volatile. Their mood's extremely volatile. They go from 0 to 100. They can be peaceful to raging in seconds. They're extremely dangerous because they fly off the handle. They tend to be more come out of really bad homes. So there's a quick rundown. A good source. There's a couple sources if you want to read up on them. Check out Robert Hare's book, Dr. Hare. It's spelled Hare. He writes a lot about sociopaths and psychopaths. And then also Martha Stout. Martha Stout's another great researcher in this area that I'd highly recommend you checking her work out. So, yeah. So RWD is saying a great way to escape a narcissistic relationship is to go to college, move into student housing, work part-time. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good plan. Tracy says you've been with one for 20 years. It's hell. You're trying to get out. Yeah, I get you, Tracy. It's tough. It's very tough. I don't know how long you've been on this call or on this live to know what we've been talking about. But if you missed it, please go back and replay it because I gave like 5 to 6 pieces of advice about how to get out. Setting boundaries, it's interesting about boundaries. Boundaries we get really wrong. And we're going to talk about boundaries next week, by the way. That's the topic. Why boundaries with narcissists never work. They don't work with Martha Stout, Chickie May, Martha Stout, like St out Stout. It writes about sociopaths and psychopaths. But boundaries don't work because they're expressions of you. And what we often get wrong is we think that boundaries are really setting a limit with somebody else. It's not. It's setting a limit of what you will and will not tolerate. But we're going to get into that next week. That's a big topic of next week. I've watched you over the years. You're legitimately altruistic. Are you meaning altruistic or autistic? Did your abuse change this? So there's yours. You've been watching me for years. Are you actually talking to me, Dr. Kerry? And I'm legitimately, you use the word altruistic, which means I'm giving and kind, and like I give money away or giving resources away. Or do you mean autistic? Because I am autistic as well. So I just wondered which word you actually meant. No, they don't care, Miriam, they don't care about boundaries. Yes, and I agree with you, Jimishi. They do think they will make you out to be the victim, a villain, and they do claim they have their own story, and it's not about it's not the version you have, that's for sure. It is amazing, Chickie D, or Chickie May, Chickie D. Sorry about that. It is amazing how many people really don't know anything about narcissism or narcissistic abuse. Yeah, including the mental health profession. I agree, which is why Dr. Dramati's certification program is so wonderful because she's trying to change that. So, yeah, boundaries are about you, exactly. What you will and won't tolerate, what's important. It's really expressions of you and who you are and what means a lot to you. Yeah, I agree with you, Elizabeth Day. There is a lot of great ideas of how people can get money. Clean houses, take care of people's kids. You can get into some kind of like I'm thinking Mary Kay and start selling products. You can go out and look for something retail. I know, or even in the service industry. I know these are all low paying, which is super tough. But you can even drive Lyft or Uber. There's lots of things that we can do. Hard to make much money, but you can make a little bit of money. Yeah, I agree with you, RWD. In fact, that if you're a subscriber to my newsletter, I don't know if you guys know that I have a newsletter that you can get for $5 a month. I write every week. I give lots of exercises and strategies and questions and resources, and it includes a podcast extra video that I do not publish anywhere. It's not published online. It's not published anywhere. And it's like usually 6 to 8 minutes. And it's usually whoever I'm interviewing. So like this week, it's with Jessica Kent. So it's an exclusive. I also have like one with Dr. Stern. It's an exclusive that I don't publish, but it's only for the subscribers for $5 a month. But that's what we were talking about. The next one coming out this next week is about how boundaries seem to be like a challenge. It's either treated like an ultimatum or a challenge. So the next cohort of coaching for group coaching, in fact, Lisa and I are going to be spinning up a new coaching program, a couple new ones, and I'm super excited about them. One of them I've been developing for a long time because I really want to do it. It's I don't have a great name to it yet, but it's on how to get better boundaries with toxic people, how to go back out into the world safely and recognize that there's danger around us, how to manage it when people try to put us in an uncomfortable position, how do we get out of it in a way that feels like we're maintaining our integrity with ourselves. So that will be offered in the fall, along with the Healing Strong also is going to be active again. So if you want to join Healing Strong group coaching, the next group is August 22nd and August 29th. Yes, in a few minutes I'll need to leave because I have a community group that I go into next, but I'm here for a couple more minutes. I started late and we moved that group back. So Miriam, if you're interested, we do have signups for it. I don't have that link on my link tree. I'll put that out there. But Miriam, would you do me the favor of DMing me in TikTok so that say, hey, I was on the live. I'm interested in that group coaching. And then you're also interested in the one on, I call it predator detection, but it's also more than that. It's about managing complex conflictual boundaries. It's going to be really, it's not about boundaries either. It's about It's about interpersonal dynamics. Can someone be a narcissist and a sociopath? Absolutely. They can be both. Some people have theorized, I don't agree with this, that all psychopaths or sociopaths are also narcissists. I don't think so. I, I I disagree with that. I do think there are psychopaths that are not narcissists. They have some narcissistic traits, but they're not narcissist. Yeah, but they can co-occur absolutely. I'm glad, RW, that listening has been therapeutic today. Today was a strange day. So if you guys made it through today with me with this bad internet, you guys have done amazing because I have lost it twice here with the internet. So thank you for that. Yeah, I actually answered it, Kate. Did you see my answer? It's the stitch with ex-patriarch. I share, starting at 4, all my bad experiences with men, and that I've been around bears. Did you guys know that? I've actually have experience with bears. So I've seen them. I've been within distance of them. I've been in, yeah, so I've been around bears. So your question about I'll take this as the last question. Your question about neurodivergence and narcissistic abuse, I think there absolutely is a connection. I think that autistic people are at more risk of being victimized, definitely. Definitely. I love to camp and hike. My problem is that my age and my back have sort of made some of that not as possible. As long as I can have a good bed, I I love to fish, and I started to learn how to fly fish, and I would even love to fly or tie the flies. All of that. I grew up since I was 6 years old back in the bush. Every year, my family would go. Oh, glamping. Yeah, I've done that. My family would go with a bus, a school bus that we converted into um, a mobile home kind of a thing, one of those campers, and we would park in the bush of Michigan. I'm sorry, in Canada. We'd park way out on this lumberjack where they had been timbering wood on a lake. We'd find some lake that had a spring. We'd set up like an outdoor, um, outhouse, and basically live on this water, this little lake, and fish for 2 weeks. And there were bears there actively. We were told to be very, very careful when we are little to go out, how to go outside and use the outhouse in the middle of the night. It was just a common occurrence to be around that. And we were even given instruction what to do if we came across a cub, and the fact that the mama was nearby and how we should handle it. I've seen signs that a bear was nearby, that we literally had just missed, that they'd gotten out of our way. They heard us coming. But yeah, I love it. I love the outdoors. Love fishing. Just incredible experience. So yeah, the bear versus the man. My experiences with men have been bad. Yeah, I would love to be in a relationship with a man. I believe that there are good men out there, but I've met a lot of bad men, unfortunately. And it's interesting, that question that ex-patriarch got asked was strange men, as if familiar men's abuse of women is less upsetting. It's just like, that was such a bizarre question. So, oh, Native American bear energy. That's interesting. I'm part Chippewa. I have a little bit of Indian in me. I'm part Chippewa. My great grandmother was quite nearly full Indian, and I don't look at, my sister actually looks it, but yeah, interesting. All right, you guys, I am going to now wrap it up. I'll be back next week at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Try to be on time. Sorry, I was late today. Apologize for that. I ran into a little bit of technical problems, but what's my girlfriend? That's my spirit animal. What's my spirit animal? The bears? Is bears my spirit animal? Hey, SJ, so good to see you. But I will be back next week. We'll be talking about, yes, I would love to know if you guys think my spirit animal is a bear. That's interesting. I am definitely a mama bear. I can be a mama bear, that's for sure. Come after me and I get real protective. But I will be back next week talking about boundaries, why boundaries don't work. So join me next week so that we can talk about boundary settings. What are they? What are they not? How to make them work better? Oh yeah, I am a total mother. Yeah. Oh, so Andrea, you're Chippewa as well? Yeah, isn't that very cool? Yeah, I'm from central Michigan, not far from the Saginaw Chippewa tribe. So I don't know what tribe actually I came out of, but yeah, it's interesting. All right, you guys, I love and appreciate you so much, and I'll see you back here next week.